A topic that's been on a lot of traders and investors' minds right now is what to do with software stocks. So recently, software stocks have taken quite the beating. And the question is, when do we step in and buy this falling knife? If you stick around for a few minutes, I'm going to give you an idea of how to catch these falling knives and what to look for in the chart setup so that you can buy these at the right time and try not to experience as much drawdown as you might if you just randomly go out and buy these. This is a system that I've built, the Bison Blueprint, that works in any market cycle, works for any industry, and it's based on technical analysis. And this technical analysis gives you an edge on when you can buy stocks in any industry. This is the system that helped me do over 600% returns in 2025. So today I'm going to go through a few charts and show you exactly when you can buy some of these names. And these are going to be great names to own for the future because obviously the narrative right now in software is terrible, but that gives us an opportunity to buy some really good companies at some really good prices. First of all, let's take a look at the QQQ chart. This is going to include a lot of technology, not necessarily just software, but this has been on a 45-degree angle ever since 2011 here, in significant gains in the last 5 or so years. But we're starting to see some weakness in the technology sector up here where we have a MACD crossover. We have a MACD divergence here where you can see a lower high here and a higher high on the chart where we have a pretty much equal high on the MACD. So that's signaling some weakness in the overall technology market. And then the same pattern shows up in the RSI as well. That provides us context for what's going to happen over the next maybe 6 to 12 months in the market overall. Now, different sectors have different cycles, but it's a key piece of context to keep in mind that there's going to be some overall weakness in the future. And so don't rush into a lot of these names. They're going to go on sale pretty soon. Here, we're looking at the IGV, which is the expanded tech sector. And this includes a lot of software stocks. Some of the big players in here, I have the top holdings pulled up on my other screen. Got things like Microsoft, Palantir, Salesforce, Oracle, Intuit, AppLovin, Adobe, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, ServiceNow. Those make up a significant portion of the stocks in here. And so what do we do when we are looking at stocks within an industry? Like we just did, we start with kind of a top-down approach. What's the market doing? What's the sector doing? And then how do we pick individual stocks? And then how do we pick the entry price for those individual stocks? That's what people get completely backwards, is they're picking companies based on narratives. We need to learn how to pick companies based on charts first. And then if you have, let's say, 5 to 10 good charts, then if you want to go with the company that has the best narrative, that's a great place to apply the narrative technique, but not first. It has to come after the technical analysis is done. If you like one of those 10 names, if you like Palantir better, if you like Salesforce better, we'll help you find the right price, and then you can take action on that name. Again, going back to the IGV here, we've got a little bit of confusion on the chart. We've got a couple of trend lines that are coming into play here with the 2022 lows connecting to the April tariff lows. And then we're going to see as we zoom in, we've had a breakdown of that trend line. The other trend line that's apparent here is we have kind of a minor low here in late 23 connecting with that same April tariff low. And that one is not necessarily as broken as the first. We've got a little bit of mixed signals here. We also see the $75 to $80 support level that's held up a couple of times. Right now, price is coming in. We'll zoom into the daily chart here. Actually, a couple more pieces of context here. We've got kind of a bottoming here in the MACD, but this has not curved yet. We've got kind of a while until this stabilizes and takes off. You don't necessarily need to be in a rush here. We've also got a bottoming, an oversold reading on the RSI. We're starting to get some signals that this sell-off is going to end soon. Now, obviously, we use MACD and RSI as confirming signals. We like to use support and trend lines first, but these are just key pieces of context for us too. When we zoom in on the daily chart, a few things that we're going to see here is We sold off into these trend lines, but not a significant overreach. It's really common for what's called a false breakdown. And it can be a really powerful setup because anybody who had a stop loss got stopped out. And then those that didn't were able to accumulate here. My guess is that Wall Street is accumulating this ETF between the 75 and $80 range. And so what we're going to see is a little bit of chop in here as they accumulate. So they get the chance to build these positions. And here we have a nice curl on the MACD, no cross yet, but this is a pretty nice setup. We've got a deeply oversold RSI reading. As we put the context together here, we're starting to see some bottoming patterns in the medium term on this IGV. Let's look at a couple of the major charts and see how they're going to react, because that's going to drive some of the price action here. Here's the Microsoft chart. And this one has been in a clear channel for the last couple of years, and we're coming into that same support. Now, this looks similar to the IGV chart here. The context that we're missing is some kind of support level here. With Microsoft, we're hoping that this trend line holds. And if it does, we've probably got a target of 460 to 500 on this name. Not something I'd buy because the risk reward's not that great. Palantir is another name. I've been short this name for a while. From the top here, I just did a video on that. So check that out. But Palantir is coming down at least to $80. If it doesn't stabilize at $80 with the sector, we're going to see Palantir eventually come down to $50 here at support long term. So that's somewhere that I would, if you want to own Palantir long term, $50 is going to be a great place for you to get in that name. This is showing huge signs of breakdown and it's starting to accelerate there. Let's take a look at CRM. Another big holding here. This is a chart pattern that we're going to see a bunch in this sector. We've had a couple bottoms here, support here. Looks like it's the COVID low as well right here. And then the late 22 low. I am expecting CRM to likely come into this $100 to $130 range. I like the opportunity to buy this at maybe 110 or so. Taking a stab here at 180 feels a little bit aggressive. And what you'll notice with these sector ETFs is that when you have that bottoming pattern in the ETF, the individual stocks are behaving a little bit differently during that bottoming pattern. For example, CRM has a little bit more to go to bottom. They're not all going to bottom on the same day, but they're going to be similar. CRM has more downside, whereas maybe some of the names we look at later might be more advanced in their cycle. You can't just say you're going to buy all of them on the same day. You want to wait for them to reach these support levels. Another one that's a big name in here is Oracle. This is something I've been tracking as well. Pretty similar pattern here. We've got support at this 115 level. It looks like it wants to go from here, that it's starting to turn bullish, but I would just have some reservation here about this one more test of this level. If Oracle sells into about 125, that's why I have a mark here. That's where I'd be really interested in taking some action on Oracle. Intuit, another big name in the list, kind of similar pattern here. 2022 lows. The COVID lows are actually much lower. A decent place to take a stab at this is $350, but there is the potential that this goes to $200. If you have that opportunity at $200, that is a really good place for you to get into Intuit. AppLovin, this is a name that came up. One of our group members was asking about this stock recently. Pretty similar chart to Palantir. Pull that back up real quick for comparison. You can tell these charts are almost exactly the same. A breakdown here, and this is headed to either $200 or worst case scenario, maybe $100 here. This is not something I'd want to buy at 390 because it looks like it's got some potential more downside. Now, as we think of the IGV and we talk about kind of the comparisons between the sector and the stocks, this is looking similar to the IGV chart, where if it does have a false breakdown out of this channel, this could be a rocket move back up. That's kind of like an inconclusive answer for you guys. And that's when I feel like there's some inconclusivity, then I just kind of stay on the sidelines. There's always another chart that you can play if things don't feel right. Another one that I've been tracking is Adobe, a huge part of the IGV, similar setup to what we've seen in some of these other charts. It's currently coming into what I consider kind of its medium risk support level. There's another chart, HubSpot, that's going to look exactly like this. Here at 250 is when you can start to think about this, but really at 200 is when you're going to have the best protection. And two reasons I like that is because it's the low here actually goes back to 2018. This is the COVID low, but we have this extra support level here from this trend line. If this does wick down to 200 bucks, that's where I really like Adobe. Palo Alto Networks, this is not something that I have charted, but this one looks a little bit more bearish than some of the others, but it's held up pretty well. CrowdStrike, again, similar trend line breakdown, retesting now. This is one, again, pretty inconclusive. I'd probably sit this one out. And then ServiceNow is another name that's a big part of the sector, the IGV. Here we have a trend line coming into about $90. Deeply oversold, pretty aggressive move here. I would look for this to kind of stabilize here along this trend line for a few days, and then probably a bullish move off of this trend line, to be honest. But there is a risk of downside to 70 or 50 bucks. Kind of know your risk level there. So we talked about the Adobe chart. I'll bring that up again real quick for reference. Here's the HubSpot chart. And so looking pretty similar here, we've got this kind of same range bound pattern. I've got kind of the top of the base here at $200, but the COVID low is at $100. You're looking at a 50% haircut. If you get in this too early, if you buy at 200 and it decides it wants $100, you're going to really be regretting that. In situations like this, I either take a nibble at it at 200 with the understanding that I'm going to add a significant position at 100, or you can just wait for $100 here on HubSpot. I really like that $100 level for that to stabilize. Another chart pattern that we've seen in this industry is kind of the beaten down smaller player like Domo. This is a newer chart, not a ton of history on this name, but recently went from $7 to almost $100, and it's building in stage one base down here. Now, there's a few charts I'm going to show you that have broken down below their base into what we call the wick off spring. And so that's when it breaks below the support level. Here is where you have a really awesome risk reward to buy this at $4 if you're an aggressive investor and trader and like this name, because just getting back to support is a 100% move, and just getting back to the resistance of the base gives you a 5x return. And then if this happens to reach its highs of $100, you've got a 20x return. So I love taking stabs at names like this. And I've actually bought some options on this recently. Another chart that looks just like this is Asana. And again, there's a lot happening on this chart because I own it and it's been alerted within our group. A huge breakdown. We've got a base. And then as we zoom in, we'll see that this base was broken. And I've been averaging down as it's broken through all these blues or buys. I've been averaging down as it gives me this spring. This is my trading system in action. When people say, what do you do when it breaks support? Well, I add to it and lower my average on this name. This is a super similar name to Domo. But again, the key takeaways for this are that this is going to kind of chop around. IGV is going to chop around at this level for a while. Individual names are going to kind of go back and forth every day and stabilize on different days. So those, wait until they reach those levels until you take action on those. But if you want to obviously reduce your risk on a certain ticker, where if you don't want to decide which company is going to have the best run, you can always just buy this ETF and just let that work in your favor. Let the diversification work for you. Obviously, then the returns aren't so great. If you take this from here to the all-time highs, you're only looking at about a 50% return. where some of those higher risk names like Domo offer, they're low caps, they're high volatility, so they offer better returns. That's why I like those names specifically in my system. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to learn how to consistently apply this trading system and have this kind of analysis at your fingertips every day, we do run a private Discord group that you can join. There's links in the information in the comments and in the bio and stuff in this video. If you want to learn more, if you want to become a member of this community, we're always sharing great charts like this. We're sharing the best setups in the market. And whether you're somebody who wants to just come in and take action on the 40 hours plus a week of research that I'm doing for you, that's something you can do. But if you want to learn how to build your own trading system, we also have resources to do that. We're active in the chat all day. I love when people send in ticker requests so that I can do reviews of certain tickers. If that's something that interests you, check out the links below, and we hope we see you in the group soon.